Is owning your own club space something you've always wanted? Let's talk about what it takes to make that a dream and not a nightmare. Next. Jeff Tsai, Forte Swordplay. Happy New Year and welcome to the new home of Forte Swordplay. So as of 2026, this year, we are not only in a new space, but our first very own lease. It's been over 20 years of this journey. And what's interesting is we were not actually looking to make a move to any sort of like space that we owned ourselves specifically. But sometimes when good opportunities come up, you just got to be ready to think about it and be ready to make that decision. So in hindsight, from the perspective of this being not just like a new year, not just a new quarter century, it's really a big milestone for us. And I find myself thinking about, what are the lessons learned for our journey on how we got to this point and hopefully did it in a way that was as healthy for us as possible. And are they valuable lessons for other potential club owners out there? So I wanted to spend today talking about three pretty broad, pretty applicable steps that I think everyone can really consider and hopefully learn from, so that you can go from really just thinking about doing HEMA and thinking about having your own club, and then taking that all to the point where you finally actually have a space of your own that you can basically call your own home. So how to get there? Three big steps. So step number one, don't lease. Don't lease, and in fact, find a good partner, a business that already exists, and work with them so that they host your club, basically do a sublet, and do that for as long as possible. That's my personal experience and recommendation. There's no reason that anyone needs to rush into owning a space. If you have the resources to do that, that's great. But again, maybe watch the rest of the video to make sure that you feel like you do actually have all the resources that are important to be able to have a space that you can call home, not just for yourself, but also for all of your club mates, right? So again, step one, don't feel like you have to lease. It's okay to sublet, and to do that for as long as possible. So the longer you can be in this phase where you are just subletting and have somebody else hosting you, the more likely you are then to be able to build up savings over time. That's a really valuable thing that I personally learned. And then to make that phase of your club experience last as long as possible, I can't emphasize this enough. It really very much depends on finding good people, hosts, that you can develop a relationship with. Like most things in life, it's hard to accomplish anything truly on your own. And so certain relationships along the way have a huge long-term impact on that success of your journey, right? In my experience, one of these is definitely the relationship with whoever is hosting your club, right? So two key sort of subpoints here. Obviously, make sure that they are good people to work with, and you're gonna have to kind of use your judgment, read people, talk with them, form a relationship, get to know them. And then number two, even after you've developed a relationship with someone that you feel really comfortable with, make sure they stay engaged. Because once this turns from weeks into months, and then months into years, things evolve over time. What their needs were for when they, came up with a contract with you for you to pay rent at a certain rate. Expect that their things will need to grow, and your needs will also change over time. And so if you don't stay in regular touch and really kind of stay in lockstep with expectations, those can start to diverge. And then at some point you run into a situation where, oh, this is no longer a good fit, and they may realize or you may realize at different times. And that can be really problematic. So find good people, stay in touch, stay engaged, right? So if you can do that, then you can really benefit from finding a space that is not yours and you're not financially needing to support something that expensive for really as long as possible. The trade-off, of course, is like you are, subject to the host's terms, particularly their schedule, and yeah, that's stuff that you're just gonna have to live with for a while. But like, we found ourselves in that situation very comfortably for over 20 years. So again, don't feel like you got to rush this first step. Step one, don't lease, find a sublet. Step number two, in parallel with all of that, again, this is a fairly obvious statement, but I really want to emphasize one of these elements. Build your content, obviously, right? Build your content, make sure that you're teaching good stuff. But in particular, not just content, but especially the community. So invest not just in the content, but the community. And what do I mean by that? So yes, obviously build your club curriculum and content, but just as important, build the people that are going to be coming in and really kind of representing the fruits of that labor, right? So you need your club members to develop enough faith and trust, not only in your content, but in the culture of your club, right? Every club, from my experience, has its own cultural feel, and folks deciding to invest that extended amount of time to stay and grow in your club, that has as much to do with the culture that is there as much as it is the content. And for those of you who naturally, and I would count myself as one of them, really tends to focus more on the content and less about the necessary sort of culture that you're creating, remember that just because you're not thinking about culture doesn't mean that you're not creating culture. In fact, really kind of focusing on content and ignoring culture creates its own culture, right? So you're gonna end up with a culture that your club, like a reputation for your club that you're known for. So you might as well be aware of that upfront and really sort of cultivate and curate that experience thoughtfully, rather than just focusing on purely content and not thinking about what that experience is for people that are coming in new, but also especially people who have been there for a while, right? So all of those things, make sure that you're really focusing on the content and the community and the people, right? So that was step one, don't overinvest in the space, find a good host. Step number two, invest in the people and the content. And if you can kind of really focus on those pieces, then step three is wait for an opportunity, right? Wait for an opportunity for a space that looks like what you need. And the longer that you've been in operation, you'll get a really good sense for what are those things that you really need. But take your time, put feelers out. You can reach out to commercial realtors, and they'll be very happy to work with you. I was lucky enough to actually work with someone who said, here, I'm going to be your broker if you are willing to do that, and I will go out there and basically find all of these opportunities for you. I tried a couple of different things, but in that particular situation, if you could find a good partner like that, it was worth it. They found us a really good fit. It took some iterations, but yeah, we got to something which was like a really good fit between the space that we really needed and the cost for all of that, right? So those three big components, when you've got solid people, you've got solid content, and you've got enough sort of cash reserves that have built up so that you can make this jump, because it probably is going to be a jump, going from something which has been a lower price point for something that you were just subletting to something where you are truly on the hook for paying for a certain amount of price per square foot. And once you get big enough, it's a lot of square footage, and then paying for utilities and taxes, all that kind of stuff. That stuff adds up real fast. So yeah, so you want to be prepared and really have a lot of stuff kind of saved up so that you can actually make that jump. So while technically this is my first personal leasing opportunity, I've had actually several years of experience working in leadership in organizations that have leased their own space. So yeah, I know what I'm getting into. It can definitely be a stressful responsibility, needing to be responsible for maintaining the quality of those three components, right? The club culture, the content, and the finances. So if you can get used to kind of being responsible for that without all of those things being kind of really a heavier load under like a lease kind of situation, the more you can kind of practice that with those previous phases, the better, right? So obviously, boiling all of this down to just these three hugely broad components is a massive oversimplification. But when I think about it, even though there's all sorts of ups and downs on this journey, I think those are valuable lessons that certainly don't feel like you have to follow that particular template, but hopefully there's something in there that I describe that hopefully is useful for you as either someone who's just starting out or someone who's on this journey already. So HEMA Club leaders out there, anything you'd like to add? If so, please jump down to the comments below and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear them and see them. In general, as we start this new year, still trying to do our best to kind of grow this channel and get out not just over YouTube, but in person to go visit people. So hoping to get out there to various places this year and meet more people and share this experience. So would really appreciate it if people like this video, subscribed, and to everybody, I wish you all the best in your personal club and HEMA journeys as we start this next quarter of the 21st century. Happy New Year.